Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Are we awake? Good. Okay, excellent. My name is Frank Tarsillo. I'm the CTO for the Market Intelligence Division at S&P Global. I'm responsible for building the products and services that we have at S&P related to financial services. Today, I don't know if the slide deck is working. Let's see if we can get that up. That's not a good start. Let's see. There we go. All right, we got the slide deck working. We're talking about AI-ready data, but I think we wanted to start with a big breath. Let's all take a big breath. There's a lot going on. This is just technology. We put technology in a toolbox, and we use it effectively to create efficiencies. We're all getting efficiencies out of technology. Generative AI is helping us accelerate that massively. But really, what we're looking for is new insight. Because ultimately, we get efficiencies, that's good, but really want to see what's coming with the data you currently have in place and the data that needs to be fabricated in the future. Now, it's not a perfect world. If you use these models today, I always like showing this a bit, just to get everyone kind of context of where we are. I asked an LLM to generate these images, and you see all the images in this slide are generated by AI, by the way. And I asked to set the clock to 6 p.m. It doesn't like hands, by the way. It just doesn't like hands. So there's reasoning issues in that, obviously. There's also bias issues. I asked for hands, again, back to the hands issue. There's a lot of hands problems. I asked for male and female 100 times, and it did that 100 times. Not good. Now, some models might solve those biases, and that's all good, but it's a problem that we have. Models are being generated on the fly. This is actually an older listing of models. 23. Look at the acceleration, but look at how much technical power we need, the actual compute power to generate the models. I'm not even putting DeepSeek in here and other models that are coming out that have a little bit of reasoning kind of trickling through. They're being re-architected in a way to make more efficiency. But it takes a massive amount of compute power to create these models. So what happens in the industry? Well, by the way, we're talking data here, right, underneath. We're going to talk about data. We'll get to data, trust me, but we have to have a level set here. Power. And now AI is being measured by power. What does that mean? So to power our data centers today, it's about 20 megawatts to get to a model generation today. That's the current data center size. When we get to between 50 and 100 megawatts, then we're going to get into this thing called general intelligence, as we're predicting. And by the way, there's a lot of debate in the industry. What's general intelligence? AGI, what's general intelligence? We have it today with agents. We do not. Real reasoning will take time to generate. So you're talking about 50 to 100 megawatts. So what does that do? Well, the industry is turning to power, re-architecting nuclear power, how that works. We're seeing people, big hyperscalers, buying power directly, building data centers. We have a lot of data on this, by the way, at S&P Global. Lots of data about, obviously, energy transition, data center footprints, all of that. Keep an eye on that, because that's going to connect to the silicon that underpins that as well. So we're seeing advances in data center sizes and whatnot, but we're also seeing a focus on chip development, silicon development. GPUs we know about. We know the players in the market on GPU. We've actually started with more TPUs with Google and whatnot. But now we're into ASICs mode. A lot of startups right now in ASICs, on ASICs, trying to create faster inference. That means the actual usage of the models. And we see leapfrog, this whole leapfrog effect. By the way, I love it. I call that the Cold War effect. Everyone's in a Cold War. Consumers benefit from that. We love it. So go for it, right? And we're going to see this accelerate because there's a massive amount of investment going on in silicon. But what do we really want out of this technology? Well, I mentioned up on the top, new insight. I want to get new information. And it all stems to the data, because we have a lot of data sitting underneath. And I want to get reasoning on it. I want to be able to ask the machine, hey, what do I really have? And what do you think it's going to need to look like in the future? The vast ocean of data that you have. But really what we have today, if you think about it, we don't have reasoning. We have insight from data we already have. So we ask the machines, hey, give me the data in a way I can interpret more effectively, maybe find some white space between the data I have. And that's kind of more inference related. It's good, by the way, it's great. It helps in analytics, it helps in a lot of things that we do traditionally. But what we're really turning to now is workflow, because I kind of position it in this way. I say in 23, 24, it was about retrieval of data through natural language. In 25, it's about making the machine do things for us. Go fetch me a pizza. Yeah, that's an image of me, apparently. I don't know, I asked my team to go and generate an image of me in AI. And I do like pizza. And they might say, well, Frank, this showcases effectively what we could do on Amazon Prime, or I can order something online. It's not. It's slightly different. There's subtleties here. I want to wake up in the morning, or I'm in a busy schedule. I'm sure you're all busy in what you do every day. And you're sitting at your desk and you're damn starving. People who know me, I don't leave my office. I eat kind bars in the day to survive. And effectively, I just want to order a pizza. I would love to just tell the machine, order me a pizza. Don't think about what I'm thinking, just go and do it. And it's that, like, what is Frank really thinking today? What does he want? What topping does he want? Which is the best pizzeria to actually order from that day, where I'm located physically? I might be in home, I might be in the office. And then get it to my door and tell me about it. That's where we hear this agentic boom, right? We're hearing agentic, everything's agentic now. I love buzzwords, we all love buzzwords in technology. But there's a reality, it's RPA on steroids. It's about being able to create the amount of tasks that you normally do, replace the human in place today by tasking out what they do with some level of decision making. That's what this is about. When you hear agentic, that's what I think. That's what's happening. Now, we started in S&P Global, like most companies, and actually just general enterprises, building the retrieval methodology, right? Natural language, go and get me the data. All your knowledge bases that you have, go and get those knowledge bases and be able to get the textual data, combine it with the structured data, and give me a result. Sounds easy, right? I'm sure people in the room go, God, I'm still working on it. But we were able to do it really well. Kensho Bhavesh was on the stage talking about what Kensho's doing with the Kensho LLM APIs. We'll talk about that a little bit. What we're doing with textual data and being able to assemble it into vector databases and the RAGs that we have. And we're able to create ChatIQ in CapIQ Pro, our premier desktop, to effectively surface the information more effectively, structured and unstructured. Pretty cool. Put it out into front of a client. They said, that's pretty cool. Does it replace what I do every day? No. It just improves efficiencies. So then we went back to the drawing board. Again, this was 23, 24. Now we're into 25. Actually, ended 24 into 25. And we said, let's make this more part of workflow. Remember I said about workflow? What is the user doing with this application? And by the way, this plays out in any of your worlds, right? Like wherever you are, you're going to have a conversation around this. It's not a pull anymore. Not NLP, get me information. It's about a push. How can I get information to the user to make them do their job better? And we created this feature in CapIQ Pro, and you'll be able to demo that. I think outside they're going to have a demo of it, so if you want to see it, which is Document IQ, which effectively, if you're looking at a transcripts document, earnings call, as an example, we'll pre-do the sentiment analysis. Historically, we'll tear apart the sentiment historically. Sentiment has decay, by the way, getting real technical on the data. And most importantly, we won't give you just a chat interface. We'll give you the chat interface, the bot, and give you the prompts to ask. This document, you should be asking these questions. You should be looking at this information. It's instigating the conversation. And it's specific to the document that you're looking at. It's kind of cool. And then it becomes an interactive experience. You're getting more insight. You're getting more value. And behind the scenes, talking about data, because this is a data conversation, right? There's a whole lot of engineering going on. Our knowledge bases, structured, unstructured, we're tuning, we're building, we're doing data extraction, we're building contextual labels around the data. In fact, we're doing more engineering around data than we did originally, historically. And we're talking true data management layers, being able to do data architecture, looking at attribute level data, entity level data, describing what those entities are more effectively. In linking, Bhavesh was talking about linking more data association, because LLMs need to understand the context to give you the best result. So we have doing all of this work, and I love the image below. I asked, give me an image showing that there's manual work being done, and it literally gave me a keyboard with 10 hands. I think they're all male, by the way, 20 hands on a keyboard. I was just laughing while I was doing it. I think it was funny. But there's still manual work. There's subject matter experts that still have to tune this thing. It's not free, and most of the data world today is focused on providing that data in a way, feeding the machine that is generative AI. The AI machine's easy. It's not easy, but it's easy. I could spin up an AI infrastructure very easily. Getting the output I want starts before that, right, in terms of the data itself. And what are we doing in that? And I love this image, by the way. I do know how to spell. This is generated by AI, just shows you. And I asked, show a complexity of an enterprise, because everyone right now is trying to integrate this with their entire enterprise. Bhavesh talked about our Spark Assist. We'll talk about that in a second. But the idea being, I have a world of hundreds, thousands of knowledge bases. They're not congruent. They're not, zero consistency. I have vendor databases. I want to attach to my CRM systems. I want to attach to my people data. I want to attach to my financial data. I want to attach to my portfolio management system. I want to attach to my human directory. I want it all connected, and I just want to ask questions or create ideas out of it. And that's what it looks like today. How do you do that? Well, there's a lot of engineering involved. And if I tell you within S&P Global the amount of work that we're doing, we'll talk about Spark Assist in a second. I have 80 projects literally to integrate our data corpuses into this environment. 80. What am I talking about? I've built an RFP analyzer. I've built a case router. Client comes in with a case, we can route it to people. A lot of internal stuff. It's very easy, by the way, to work on internal things that clients don't see, but it makes us more efficient. I have 80 of those running, creating a tremendous amount of productivity and efficiency, which we are measuring. Might ask the question about P&L impact. But that's a whole other story and a set of metrics that we can talk about. But the work to get that efficiency is actually becoming fairly straightforward. You just have to do the work. If I talk about internal productivity, like an engineering productivity, I have 2,500 engineers right now with code assistants. I'm not going to label code assistants. And we are seeing about 10 to 15% higher level of productivity, engineering solutions. I have a project running internally right now to rework the SDLC process. Imagine reinventing the software development lifecycle. What am I talking about? Product manager just says, I want something. It generates the epics, the stories, the tasks, generates snippets of code for the engineer. Engineer actually sees the snippet in code repository and says, I'm just going to verify the logic, attach it to the core object-oriented code, and send it down the pipe. We're building all of those things and more. But all of this requires better alignment of data and data engineering. We spoke about Spark Assist. So we democratized, I use this word democratization of AI, right? So how do you democratizing AI? Like, how do you get it into the workforce? We made a decision very quickly to give the power to the individuals. These are productivity things. Give it to the people on the ground that could figure out how to best use this. And it kind of was a bit of a science experiment, and then it grew massively. And Spark Assist is built on talk technically, an Azure OpenAI / Blueprint that we build up on top of with some really, really cool features. It's our quote unquote ChatGPT internally. I hate to use that. I hate saying that. But from a technology perspective, we layer up on top of that central RAG this capability. And what's interesting about this was it started very simply, right? Just get up the basic chatbot and let people use it and see what they get. And then we started building things from a collaboration perspective. So we have this thing called Sparks, which I basically think of it as like a little template that people can create independent of just the system itself and publish into the platform. And a Spark just simply creates a context around a specific output that the user wants. Like, I love the email the boss one, which is the most popular one in the store, which is effectively email like a boss, effectively rewrite my email with the tone of an executive, as a simple example. But we have Sparks that are very complex. In fact, we even built our own language in the Sparks to handle workflow, to be able to take a prompt input to a prompt output back to an input. You can follow the chain. And also template the output of it. In other words, if I want to see a certain structure as an outcome in NLP. And this thing went gangbusters. We have 30,000 people using it. Our data teams, this is going back to data, are using it. They're actually pre-processing documents coming in. They're analyzing using the tool. We didn't know that was going to happen. 30% of activity on this platform is on data. Literally, we're talking about operational people managing data more effectively. Yes, they have to verify. Don't worry, everyone. We do quality checks and verify things. But it's important that we invested in this. I'm going to go a little faster here. So we're going to get under the hood in a second. The big winner, by the way, I think when we look, that was internal kind of messiness that we had managed. When we talk about like our products and what we're doing around data specifically, we saw big winners last year in data extraction. So everyone, I'm sure, has an ingestion platform, and they're pulling unstructured documents out, and they're trying to pull out the entities. They're doing the aliasing. They're doing the rules around it, all that. And we had that, as Bhavesh said, I've been 28 years in the business. We've been doing AI for like, I don't know, 20 years. Like it's, we've been using traditional machine learning methodologies, and effectively all of those things are being reworked. So all the ML is being pulled out, and LLMs are being pushed in. Why? Because ML, if you're familiar with ML, it's kind of a single dimension, right? It's a single linear task. Classify a document and build a model for that classification. With LLMs, it's, I don't need to tell you, just whatever comes through, tell me what it is. It can handle multiple vectors at the same time. Think about just single cycle of work versus 20, 30, 40 cycles within a machine learning paradigm. Pull that out. How does it help us? Well, not just that it's faster, and it's actually becomes a more cost-effective way, and this is an example of one of our platforms, AI Extra. We were able actually in this platform, which is pulling Muni data. We're pulling Muni data out of government documents. We displaced a commercial, I'm not going to explain who the commercial vendor was, displaced the commercial vendor and saved 2/3, literally, using this technology, and much more efficient. We're able to do multi-models. We're able to actually not just put one model, we could say, hey, test again, test on this, test on that, and create more accuracy. Now, there's still human in the loop here because we have to validate and verify, but it was cut back by like 50%. In other words, we were able to reduce the operational burden by putting LLMs in place and extracting more entity data out of it, finding some of the attributable data. Back to linking. Also, on the back end of this, in terms of linking, able to go much faster on linking, relate more of our data ontology around data that we're extracting. And I would just point to one other product side. If you look at iLevel as an example, iLevel is our private markets portfolio management product. We built an ingestion platform, it never had one, to actually extract data from originating documents from the customer. So these are not public documents, they're customer documents that are being processed to create more efficiency in how we pull that private data into the database. So if you go up, look at iLevel in the marketplace, you'll see, again, some of those features. Okay, I think it's kind of level setting. I have 11 minutes to do this, so I'm going to do this as fast as I can. But we'll get into some data. As I said, it takes a lot to process data. And if you're not doing the data wrangling kind of thing on your side, I'd be surprised. So if you just take a zero shot and just throw it into your system, good luck with that. You might get some 50%, I said 30 to 50% positive outcomes, but it's not going to really go the distance. So there's a lot of chunking and analysis of the content, shaping, metadata injection, like what is this document really about? What's the put the metadata labels around that document, which informs the LLM more holistically. That means people are actually subject matter experts. We go back to them and say, give me 5, 10, 20 more attributes around this content. Distinguish between certain things that are said in documents around between people and platforms and tech. Or the best is like when someone says a platform or a specific technology. Like, are they the same or are they different? Is tech platform? Platform could be a platform, right? As an example. Be more specific and help educate the model contextually. So that's a lot of data wrangling. We're augmenting it. We're obviously then going through the embedding process after that. And we can say we test against an eval model. So by the way, Kensho has a great evaluation framework if you're interested. Again, if you're looking at evaluating some of the performance of your data wrangling and your embedding capabilities. But eventually you get into the vector database and it gets processed and all that, and it sounds all good, right? We do this. And you're gonna continue to do it and do it again and do it again and do it again. And then you're gonna realize, wait, if you're large like us, we have many projects happening. I see some people doing duplication. They're all wrangling the same data. And you're like, well, hold on, transcripts are transcripts. This team did it, well, awesome. You should share what you did with that other team. And we got to that stage, so, okay, slow down, because we were going really fast. And we decided to create a concept of what we call S&P Global AI-ready data, which is a structure, a framework that says the data, this is for unstructured textual data specifically, the data should be formed like this. It should have a certain type of embeddings. It should have a set of contextual labels added to it. It should have prompts. It might be 80% of what you need, but at least some set of prompts that are logical, maybe obviously generated from generative AI. All of that is part of a work, but I want to bundle it in a very standardized form so that if team A wants to share it with team B, they can. And we built that. Actually, some of the backing of the Kensho LLM APIs is this AI-ready data that's been shared. In fact, we're obviously looking to extend that to customers as well. So hey, we've done the work. We've done the chunking, we've done the embedding, we've done all this work, we put the contextual labels on it. We just acquired a company, Pronto NLP, that helps us do more labeling around data. Great. Do you want to go build a lot on transcript data, or do you just want to acquire it and trust the brand that we have and the quality that we provide? And that's the concept there of S&P Global Ready Data. Now, is everyone awake? Let's see if everyone's awake here, and I have 8 minutes to do this. So it gets more technical as we go. I have to do it for the technical audience. It's like a quiz. Anybody want to take the quiz? Raise your hand if you're NoSQL. No one's going to interact with some people? Not shy? No? Okay. In this example, I actually asked an LLM to give me an example of why structured data does not work with LLMs. Does not. Not's a strong word, but just because every database is different in the world. And I might store data in 5 different ways that's different than my competitor or someone else in the industry. In this example, he explained very clearly, here's some structured data, some tables, and this is not financial per se, this is people related. And you might ask, you might ask the LM, get me some data out of this. And what might surprise you is that you don't get a good result. You might not get a good result, I should say that. You might not get a good result. It might not be able to tie out emp ID with employee ID on a join. It might not. That's the problem number 1. It might not actually identify that Bob is missing from table 2 there, okay? Missing. And treat it as a 0, not an error, but just 0. He gets 0, take this bonus, he gets 0 bonus. It's that time of the year. It, might not get the patterns in terms of the actual joins and actually calculate the right data, generally speaking. It might not. Now, everyone's trying to solve this problem in the industry. Everyone is trying to solve this problem in the industry. The commercial providers, the vendors, we're all trying to solve that problem. Well, what we've done successfully, again, going back to that Kensho LLM API, is provide an API, a layer in front of that structured data that translates NLP, natural language, go get me some data, and translates that to the muck that is SQL. I said stored procedure SQL. And then respond back with natural language again. So we hide away all that complexity by putting an abstraction layer in between. This is a very normal pattern in the industry. People are actually doing this to pull the structured data into the textual elements in the orchestration. It is some trickery. It is. I call it trickery. And if you look at this ugly diagram that I wrote, by the way, I'm not the best artist here, as you can see, but if you understand how that works, we kind of go through this intermediary layer into some crazy stored procedures that goes to some databases. And we're successful with that. A lot more successful than we are by just saying, LLM, go look at my database, understand the structure, the taxonomy of it, and connect it all for me. Well, what's the root cause of that? And this is something we're working on right now. Well, the root cause is we're not informing the LLM of the structure. And you might say, well, Frank, well, why can't we inform the machine of the structure? Because everyone has different structure and different way of thinking about it. So we are working on a metadata mapping of all of our structured data, where we will provide descriptions, singular descriptions, on all of the field levels. Think about every field, and putting an identifier, and linking that back to a master reference that anyone will be able to download. It's very controversial in the company right now, in a way, but the techs we're pushing forward with it. We know there's a lot of value in this. Well, you might say, Frank, this is going to make just S&P the standard for S&P. True. It's very prescriptive. But we know as well that other vendors, I'm talking about commercial providers of technology, the Snowflakes of the world, the Googles of the world, they're defining their own prescriptive way of describing the data in their structured databases. Now, many of us are technologists in the room. That's an easy problem to solve. If everyone's being prescriptive in their own space, then it's just adaptation. It's just one definition defined or mapped to another definition, and you're done. That's happening now, slowly. By the way, some of those vendors, I'm not going to mention specific vendors, are already working on that in their own realm. In fact, in my conversation with many of them, I always ask them the question, why aren't you being more prescriptive? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, well, the more prescriptive you are, the more we adapt to how you're thinking about your technology, and then we get the better outcome when we ask a natural language question. It will solve the problem for us. So this is things to come. Now I'm going to get real scientific. Data scientists in the room, if you're out there, data scientists in the room, anyone? Data scientists? Okay, well, sorry. I'm not a data scientist. So I relied on my predecessor, my mentor, to give me some insight, Yakov Maninkas. He's no longer with the firm anymore. I called him up and said, I need something to really showcase synthetic data. And everyone's going to think synthetic data is helping traditionally now when you hear synthetic data, what people are really describing is how do I help tune the large language model with the data. In this context, it's not. It talks about, again, new insight or thinking about more even reasoning in certain aspects. Data missingness. Does everyone have a data missingness problem? I back test data or time series, and I miss a big chunk of data or one day or 2 days, and I have to figure out in an analytic scenario how to solve for that. Well, you can read the slide. We took GE, this is an example of it, close prices. I took out 500 days of data. And this is where we get into traditional data science versus generative AI. And just really showcase what you can do, what you really can do with this technology. This is the simple stupid fill, not good enough. This is the non-negative matrix factorization. You have to go back to school for this, by the way, everyone. Not good enough. You iterative regression approach, 10 iterations, maybe. Random forest approach kind of got close. And we stop at deep learning methodology, neural networks, and it's pretty damn good. And my friend said, Frank, this is changing the way we think about the calculation of information. This is going to create more accuracy, better analytics. And by the way, I didn't put it in here. There's a pre and a post view of this. You can actually generate the what-if scenarios before this data even was born and after. And then we get to predictive and signaling. Which brings me to the end of my session, which 56 seconds left. Wow, that's amazing. We need to be thinking about more of the interesting use cases. I think we're definitely in the efficiency mode, trying to figure out how to make these things hum along as replacements for people. But I think we're missing out, and I think some of us are actually working on this. Inference is finding the white space again between the data. How do I find new information? Let the LMs do that for me, especially when we're thinking about alternative data. Knowledge graphs are interesting. A lot of people are building knowledge graphs, having the LMs build them, build a knowledge graph for you. Look at my corpus of data, build a graph in this specific context. Maybe it's a supply chain issue that you're trying to solve for. Maybe it's physical risk problems. Maybe it's an early warning system that you're building. I've seen it. I've seen people building them. We're building them. Signal generation's huge here, especially for portfolio management, asset management. We're doing some of that work in our credit space, 100%, taking those traditional, as I said, data science methods and improving them. We acquired Pronto NLP, awesome company to help us, not just with signal generation, but again, thinking about those contextual labels. They've done a lot on industry attributes, being able to define industry attributes. By the way, you can look all this stuff up on our marketplace, S&P Global, spglobal.com. You'll find all this information. Document synthesis. Who wants to generate a credit memo? Like, no. We should be able to generate credit memos. We're working on that right now. Because we should be able to synthesize documents from the information that we have. That gets into more of the workflow management. So what did we learn today? Key takeaways, because I'm out of time. There's a lot of data required to get the results that you want. You have a lot of data you want to connect up. It is going to take a lot of power and energy, for sure, to get that done, although things are becoming more efficient. That's kind of weird. It's like a double thing. Silicon's getting better. Compute power is getting better. So you got this kind of back and forth. It costs a lot, it's costing less, right? And it costs a lot again because we're advancing things. It's just normal technology. It helps you see through the muck, right? So generative AI will help you see through the muck. And you should be focused in on that, where you can actually have a very complex problem. Go to AI first. Don't think you're going to solve it yourself. Go to AI first, see what the results are. And we're here to help, by the way. So we are I'm pleased. Look at the booths that we have outside. They showcase some of the great work that we're doing. Effectively, S&P Global's here to really deliver the value that we've been delivering historically, but in this new advanced way. So thank you very much for your time today.
If anyone has any questions for Frank, I encourage you to raise your hands. We have some event staff with microphone. Frank, while everyone sort of waits for their coffee to kick in, I would actually love to ask a question. You were talking early in your presentation about push versus pull, and the goal is to push, right? And I was thinking that involves a huge amount of trust. How do you think about cybersecurity as someone who manages a huge amount of valuable IP for the company? Is it that we are relying on the fact that large language models are in a sense a black box, so cybersecurity is baked in, or is there an additional layer that you think about?
Yes, great to call. Who cares about security? Regulation, all of no. We don't talk, technology teams don't talk about security or IP management because it inherently has to be there. We have to have it in place, which is not trivial to solve. It's not. But a lot of the data sourcing is still controlled effectively. What you see in the market a lot as a result of where there could be IP leakage is lineage back to the sources. So if you get a result back, you see a lot of engineering where it says, this was sourced from X, a news article, it was sourced from a document, and we do that in our data. So when you look at even Chat IQ, excuse me, I keep saying Chart IQ, Chat IQ, you'll see sources, you'll see where the source is from. And I think that's very, very important. It doesn't solve everything. We have to be careful of what we're looking at. Show those images that I created, right, and especially image generation. There are tools that look at, are these things being generated now, right? So there's verifications that we're putting in. So IP controls are still required. In fact, if you looked at Spark Assist, a lot of the work in Spark Assist is about who has access to what. The identity of the user is still used in the prompt to identify if that user is allowed to see that data or not. So it is very much alive and needed. I would say on the flip side of that, we're actually using the technology to detect any security-related concerns. We do a lot of that as well within S&P Global, both on our DevOps side, our SOC, our Security Operation Control Center. It's very much tying now into security analysis, active, or I say not passive, but active security analysis where we detect when someone's doing something wrong. Other questions? Hi.
Hey, Frank, Jim Tuzian from FinTech Studios. How are you?
Doing well. Nice to see you.
Question, when you look at the introduction in the last couple of weeks of DeepSeek and the crazy reaction by the market and all sorts of views about is it radically changing all the capital investment, chip design, data center stuff, energy consumption, open sourcing, the reasoning issues. What do you think about all of that?
Let me just put it in a box. So, you know, it's funny, my son asked me if he should invest in specific chip makers. I'm not gonna mention the chip maker. And I said, no, sell short. I'm not gonna mention the chip makers. We all know technology. Technology is going to continue to evolve quickly, especially in this space when there's a tremendous amount of investment. I do expect leapfrogging effects to happen in the industry. People will get ahead of each other. I think as soon as DeepSeek went out, obviously the reasoning OpenAI model came out to compete against it. And then you have Quen come out after that. Everyone is just leapfrogging each other with the same methodology. They're learning from each other, in fact. And I think we should be patient and be traditional technologists and evaluate the use cases that we have and apply the investment in an appropriate way. That's my advice to everyone. I do think we're going to continue to see that investment flow. We, the consumers, are going to benefit from it. If you're going to bet on a single model in your life, good luck with that. That's your personal opinion and way you want to manage it. That's not what I'm doing. Every use case, we look at all models, we look at all technology, and we pick the best one at the time. Make sure that you're abstracting away. Still traditional technology concepts. Build a strong architecture so that when the technology improves, you can swap it in and out, and you should be okay. If you are there is some conversation on bringing ASICs back to on-prem, where I need some additional power, and not look at some of the SaaS solutions in the market. That is kind of something I'm personally evaluating to see if I want to bring some compute back on-prem based on some of the inference requirements that we have. But I do think, you know, there's a paper out there that says there was a ceiling on the current AI, right? And we're already seeing that being broken through. It's amazing. Actually, my son, again, sending me a paper. He's an engineer. Sending me a paper. He said, Dad, there's a ceiling. And I read the paper. It's a very technical paper. It's from Apple, engineers from Apple will know. It's a great paper, but people are smarter. They're going to get through it, and we just need to be managing that in terms of ROI, effectively. Questions?
Yes. Good morning, Matt Conweiser with IBM. So Mustafa Suleyman had described AI as needing to be treated as its own digital species. You talked about your models teaching them a brand new language so they could communicate more effectively. You talked about agentic and all these new future use cases. You have a chief AI officer at S&P now, right? Yeah. So what is your take on where this is going? How are you treating these models and how these models operate when you talk about workflow and everything else? Do you agree with that these are digital species, or are these just lines of code and just any other product?
We're definitely not the species level yet. Skynet's not built yet. It's not, if you don't follow that, it's not built yet. I think we will get there, but we're not there yet. I do think right now it's technology. Just like all technology, we apply it accordingly. It's so advanced in our mind because it's so tangible, because it's there, it's physical, it's talking to us, quote unquote, that we're so enamored that it's just amazing. It's got a novelty to it almost. But at the end of the day, it is tech right now. When the machines really do get to AGI, which will happen, whether we like it or not, it's going to happen, okay? Then we can have that species conversation and what those species will be. Specifically. So that's my futurist thought, right? I'm just giving you my honest, this is a personal, by the way, I can't represent S&P, I'm up stage representing S&P Global. From a technologist perspective, I would say we will get to AGI, and then we can start talking about what is actually born versus what is. Questions? No, good. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Great.
Oh, we have one more question. One more question, sorry. They're gonna kill me here, so they're gonna get me off stage.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. So you spoke about AI-ready data. And do you see an emergence of embeddings as a service rather than data as a service, like S&P selling
Yeah, I do.
embeddings right in front that we could leverage for the platforms built
That's
on
the
our side?
AI-ready the S&P Global AI-ready data bit. So that we actually, in that specification, have embeddings. And those embeddings will help you engineer your specific vector database, right? And that's the idea. And by the way, there's many embedding models out there. So we pick the ones we feel are the best for our data, but we're not shy. The specification can actually support multiple embeddings in that. By the way, we're happy to share that. If people want to see that specification, we're happy to share that with customers as well. So the answer is yes. Thank you very much, appreciate it.